Hello, loves. Welcome back to Floating on a Cloud podcast. Today we are chatting with Shoshana Chaim. She is a Canadian wellness expert. I got to connect with her with FemCity Global. Oh, I'm so excited. And she works with health practitioners, their families, clients, and patients to achieve improved cellular functioning and rockstar wellness. She comes at a space of so much love and no judgment and wants the very best for everybody that she connects with. I have loved the conversations that I've had with her thus far, but she's also more than just this amazing woman. She is the founder of Plant Trainers with an interest in Redox signaling. I hope I'm saying that, technology, and plant-based nutrition. Shoshana is the co-host of the popular Plant Trainers podcast, helping people improve their quality of life through plant-based nutrition. I recently became plant-based, and so I'm interested to talk more about that. As a former elementary school teacher, she enjoys teaching children of all ages skills for lifelong healthy habits. Shoshana is an international speaker and author. Her new book, I Am A Peaceful Goldfish, teaches children the importance of mindfulness and taking big breaths in a fun and imaginative way. She lives in Toronto with her husband and 2 children. Welcome.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you so much for having me. I'm grateful for being here.
Yes. Well, so Floating on a Podcast is all about having these real conversations about listening to your divine guidance and how listening to your divine guidance has positively impacted, improved your life. I really want to know more about how that has been for you. So have you always listened to your divine guidance or inner wisdom, or what do you even call it?
I don't know what I really call it, and I don't know if I've always listened to it. And probably as a child, I probably did a lot more, but I didn't even know. It was just doing, right? When we're kids, we don't tend to overthink things. We just tend to do things. And then when I was about, I would say 10 years old or so, my dad started going out on Sundays. And, normally Sunday was like the day where we'd all just be home, but he'd take a shower and brush his hair and shave and, put on pants and a button down. And he'd say, all right, guys, see you later. And he'd leave and he'd be home after dinner. And he eventually said to my mom, where's daddy going? And they'd be like, oh, he's going to see a man about a horse. So for the longest time, I thought we were getting this pony. I'm like, we live in the suburbs, we live in the suburbs of Canada, but we have a weekend house down in Vermont. So maybe we're getting a pony at the house in Vermont. I didn't know what was going on, but that was just their way of being like, he's going out and it's none of your business where he's going. And part of that was that my mom doesn't like anybody to know her laundry. Unlike me, I tell everybody about my laundry, but my dad was going out and he had experienced his spiritual side, and he had learned that he was very gifted, that he was able to connect with spirit, that he was able to connect through spirit. He eventually began teaching other people how to do this too, running circles, became a shaman. And that's what he was going to do on Sunday afternoon. So when I started to understand more about, I guess at the time I thought of it as his power. When I started to understand more about that, I think I put up a wall and I said, oh, if I've got any of this, or if I've got anything going on, I don't want my dad to know, because as I became a teenager, it's like, I didn't do really bad things, but you want your privacy, and you want your privacy. So I started to put up this wall, and really, I think it started to hinder me a little bit in terms of what I was receiving, how to follow my own intuition, how to make decisions and choices for myself, because I was scared of everybody seeing what I didn't want everybody to see, kind of thing. Does that make sense?
It does. It's just interesting hearing what it's like to have a parent that has divine connection and how you responded to that. Because I see that in my oldest, Amira. She, and sorry, my voice, for those who are listening, I have like this cold thing happening. So It might be a little sultry today. So,
Sounds
she,
sexy.
yes, I was going to say that, but then I'm like, I don't know. So
Sorry, I went there.
I'm glad you did. I love it. I have noticed, like, if she asked me, hey, mommy, guess how many like sit-ups or something she did at school, and she had a whole list of things, and I was like 72, and she's like, that's exactly what I did. And she's like, how'd you know that? Did you ask spirit? Like, and I was like, maybe. She's like, mommy, you're cheating. You're using your gift. You can't use your gift. You have to just guess. And so I'm like, fine, I'll just guess. So I'm like, spirit, don't tell me, let me just feel this one out. And so she goes on to the next exercise, and I was like 63, and she's like, mommy, you did it again. So I think she starts to feel like I'm in her space, and like, kind of like, I think when other people are around me, they sometimes shut down, just like what you're sharing, because they're like, I don't want you to know all of my secrets. And I'm like, I already do.
Right. Or they want to test you and they want to make it harder. And it's like, oh, I know the answer 7, but if I think about 32 enough, maybe she'll say 32 instead of 7. And I mean, I guess the other part to that, and I don't know what it is in your home, but the other part to that is that my mom wasn't comfortable with it. Right. Like we weren't allowed to tell anybody. We weren't supposed to tell. That's why, like, where's your dad going? See a man about a horse. And people would just look at me like I'm crazy. I wasn't allowed to tell them what he was really doing or where he was really going or what hobbies he had picked up. So there was also that kind of, even though I was old enough to make decisions for myself in my own head, there was that pullingness of, okay, it's really cool. He can do this. It's really cool that, instead of a Tylenol, he just puts a crystal in the middle of my head and my headache goes away. Right. Like there were all these really cool things happening, but then there was this idea of it's wrong and other people shouldn't know and we should be embarrassed by it at the same time. Although I was always fascinated with it. Like I would go to conferences with him and he would hold out these rods, and the rods were just, they were just for show, not to make it sound any less than it was, but people, like when you do it in your head and you kind of tell people and they don't know you, they don't have a relationship with you, he'd say they won't listen. They'll think you're crazy. They'll think you make it up. You tell somebody you have abnormal growth cell or cancer growing in your spine and they feel totally fine. They're not going to believe you. But if you have these rods and the rods start to move or the rods come together or cross over in that spot, then they see something and they're willing to listen a little bit more. So he would have his own gift, but then he would put on the show so that people would listen and actually take action and do something because it's their life, right? It's their life. So it was so cool to be part of those things. Or he would separate the room in half and we would take a stone and somebody would have a stone on one side and the people on the other side would have to guess who had the stone on the other side. And every time it worked out. And it was just, super cool how those kind of things happen. So I started to become fascinated with it. And then at 23, I got married, moved out of the house and left and took some of it with me, but never really gave it much thought in terms of what I can do with it myself. And I never really gave it much thought beyond really healing, right? So I would use crystals for healing, but I wouldn't use any ability. But whenever I had dreams, and my oh my, did I ever have really, really lucid dreams, I would call him and I would ask for the interpretations. And he kept saying, but this, you can do this on your own. Your power, so like you're so strong, you're so open, you're so ready, why aren't you doing this yourself? But I really liked having somebody else to rely on. And everybody I've spoken to in the last 10, 20 years, their first thing is, well, why are you coming to me? Why aren't you just doing this yourself? Like you're ready, and that you're ready, you're there, why aren't you? But I never felt open and ready, and I felt like I needed to spend a lot of time to prepare myself and learn and go to like telepathy university or something like that. But in the last actual month, everything has changed. Everything has changed.
Oh, so one question before I want to hear about all the things that have changed. You said something when you're talking about the rods that your father used, I got full body goosebumps, and the message was like, prove it. And so has that ever been a thing for you? Like, no, I need it to like prove it to me type of thing, or what? And I'm not like reading you, I'm just wanting to have a conversation about it.
Yeah.
Like, do you feel like spirit needs to prove it to me in order for me to really believe it? Or has that like completely gone in like the last month?
No, I need proof, and I'm trying to let go of that. I need proof. I mean, let go or not let go, I don't know, because, in terms of where we've been with our health and my husband's health, and when I was pregnant with my daughter, he had a tumor, he had heart disease, and we were like, we're personal trainers, we're thinner than all of our other friends, we're athletes, why is this happening? So we went plant-based, he went plant-based. And even though I saw all the research, even though I knew it, even though I knew where to find it, it took me a long time to get on board. It took me a long time to become a real believer. I needed to see it in multiple different lights before I was really able to go all in, before I was able to take my children on that journey. And kind of the same thing happened then. I had a health issue about 4 years ago, which transpired from that because it was mental health and postpartum PTSD and all of that. So when I found these redox signaling molecules that you were talking about before, I was willing to try it. I was willing to do it, but I needed to see it working for a lot of different people. And I needed to kind of read the research too. So I needed this proof upon proof. And then this morning, I'm doing my meditation and I'm calling on a spirit guide. Show me my spirit animal, show me my spirit guide. I haven't seen one in a couple of years. It used to be a whale. That can be a scary thing. For me, it was a positive thing, although everybody interpreted it as the whale smashing down on you. And I'm like, no, the whale's jumping up and spraying water everywhere. But I was like, okay, what do I need right now? And what I saw, heard, and felt was a lion. And I was like, no, that can't be. I'm like, give me something else. I'm like, prove it to me, show it to me with my eyes, whisper it in my ear. And I wanted to see it multiple times. So yeah, I need to be proven to. And I think that that's part of what I'm going through now, is letting go of all that proving and just going with that first intuition.
Mm-hmm. What I love that when someone or many people said that the whale was something bad, you're like, no, it's good. I've had that before when Amira was coming to me as a soul before she became in my womb. When I shared that information with people, people would then interpret it that it was the little girl in me, or I was having like little girl psychological stuff going on that I needed to heal. And I was like, no, literally her soul came to me and it's talking to me. Like this is not about me.
Right.
And it's like, I don't have to prove this to you. I don't have to like explain this to you. It's just something that I know. And for you to trust that, that's really cool. Because that's one thing that I mean, I know it's part of like the proving it, but I
Right.
appreciate that you were trusting that at least information.
And thank you for bringing that up, because I never looked at it that way. I never looked at it as I trusted my intuition in that, even though other people were telling me wrong, because in everything else I do, I double guess and I need the proof. So yeah, that's huge too. And maybe it was a sign of, like a lot of things have happened in these couple of years, right? So, maybe they were right, but maybe I needed to believe in myself to be able to get through it. I needed to believe what I believe to be able to get through it too. And, that's part of it as well. It's your belief mechanism in everything.
What does the lion represent?
So I haven't had a lot of time to think about that.
Because it's like this morning, right?
Right. And it's funny because I actually first I'm like, lion. Nope, panther, panther, panther. I'm like, no, lion. And I'm like, Shoshana, show me. Is it panther or is it lion? Is it panther or is it lion? And it was just lion, lion, lion. I'm like, then why would I think panther? But it was actually lioness. And without that big mane, it does have that panther like, and it was just coming out through the right hand bottom corner. And what does it represent? I chose a word for 2021, and that word was strength. And I think that it's very aligned with my word. I think that it's showing me that I'm queen of my jungle.
Yeah.
I don't, I'm queen of my jungle, and it's the lioness, actually, I did think about this. The lioness is the one that goes out and hunts, right? She's the one that does the work. She's the one that brings back the food for the family. And I can see where I'm going in terms of myself, my business, and what I'm doing for other people in their businesses in multiple different ways. And I'm allowing them, especially these women that I'm working with, to go out and do the same thing too. So for where I've gotten so far, that's what I've come up with.
As you said, strength. I've been paying attention to when people are in alignment. And when you said strength, I got full body goosebumps, and other parts of me got hard, like my nipples, but I didn't want to, but you know what I mean. And that's my like signal. It's literally my
your
signal.
Spidey sense.
When other people are in alignment. And I had the opportunity in a workshop this weekend to listen to Amanda Gorman's inaugural poem. And when she just started speaking, and Spirit says to me, she embodies empowerment. That is the vibration of her soul. And that's how we know that she's in alignment with what she's saying. And so as you said strength, and I got full body goosebumps, nipples hard, Spirit says to me, that's your soul's vibration, is strength. And so like that, like when you are vibrating at strength, it is the alignment of you, if that makes sense. I'm not, feel it out, but that's just what I was feeling as you were talking. And I don't usually have this type of conversation on the podcast.
Well, I can feel that, and I appreciate it. And it's funny because I went back and forth between the word strong and the word strength, because I want to be able to say I am, right? So every day I am happy, I am grateful, I am strength. And I'm like, but I am strong sounds better grammatically or something like that. But I'm like, no, I'm strength. It's the strength. It's the act. It's the act of doing it. It's not that I am strong, because you can be something, but if you don't utilize it, it's wasted, and it serves no purpose. And I want it to have purpose. So yeah, strength. I have a lot of strength. And I think that I'm here today where I am sitting here because of a lot of strength, and going through so many different mental health challenges before as well. But yeah, I want to be strength, and I've chosen other words before, and I almost forget them by like January 22nd. Right? It's like your New Year's resolutions. I'm going to eat well every day, or I'm going to go to the gym every day. And by like, January 22nd, nobody's doing it anymore. But this is stuck. We're recording this in February, and we're still on the right track. So, so that's good. Yeah. Thank you.
I love it.
Yeah.
So what was it like when you were not listening? What were some of the experiences or friction, or did you not experience that? It was just like, hey, this is where I'm at.
No, it sucks.
No.
I love it. Really, really, it's really bad. It's really bad. And you get this ping pong sensation in your head of going forth with, okay, I'm going to choose that, but maybe I should have really done that, but it's too late now. So it's going to be too much work to go back and to fix it and to make a different decision. And then, you play your mind, instead of it being present with your children, or present in the food that you're making, or present in your workout, or present in your sleep, or present in your actions. You're playing this game in your head and having these conversations that could have been avoided, even if you realized after that you didn't listen and that you should have listened. To not take action on that and just let it be causes so much extra turmoil, and then you end up with the results that you then have to deal with. So what does that mean? I mean, we were looking for someone to help us with social media, to teach us how to use Instagram years ago. And Adam had known somebody who he'd went to school with, and he met us at the Starbucks, and we kind of liked what he had to say. But at the same time, I couldn't hear him. I couldn't really hear his words, and I had to strain and I had to listen. And I got what he was saying, and I was like, but this is the first person that we're talking to. Not to say the first person you talk to is the wrong person, but I'm like, maybe we should look into other people. Maybe I should find somebody that really sits with me. I really did want somebody who was, although he worked in the wellness world with a lot of other people, I really did want somebody who was a lot more plant savvy, plant heavy, not saying vegan, not saying 100% plant-based, but so much more aligned with us in terms of their own lifestyle, not necessarily just who else they're working with. And I kept having this feeling of, but he's just the first person we're talking to. We should talk to other people. And we went with them. And although we achieved our goal with them, there was a lot of hard times. There were a lot of hard conversations. And when we ended up parting ways, there's a lot of back end work that they weren't supposed to do that they were doing anyway that got us some really good results. But when they left and stopped doing that, and we didn't know that they were doing that, we had a huge dip. So our engagement went like way down, and I was really upset because it wasn't about it was never about that number for me. It was about the engagement. And it seemed like that engagement was faked when we didn't want that to be faked. And like today it's not. Today it's absolutely not. But yeah, so I had to kind of deal with that and feel like I was blindsided, and maybe I shouldn't have made that decision in the first place. And we could have fired him after a month. We could have let him go. And it it's funny because, being plant-based, I hear a lot of different things from a lot of people. And what I'm known for is meeting people on their journey where they are with no judgment and taking them forward. But when somebody who's working for me sits at my kitchen table and says, I get everything that you're saying. I've read every single post of yours for the last 6 months, but really, I'm not willing to do it when I have my first heart attack, then maybe I'll pay attention to what you're saying. Like that's when I knew, boom. I like I didn't fire him. I fired him in my head on the spot, but not on that spot. But yeah, when you don't listen, you tell yourself I told you so, and that sucks worse than other people telling you I told you so.
So two things. When you were talking, when we were given an idea, such as you need to seek out, this is just your first person, let's see what else. That's an inner voice, your inner wisdom, divine guidance, whatever you want to call it. And it's giving you the path of least resistance. And when we don't take that, I feel like more resistance comes up. And that's just what you explained. But that was just a thought that I had. And I was wanting to like tie it together with,
Yeah.
with things. And then the second thing is, this is the second time I have heard you say in FemCity meeting and then now that you meet people where they're at without judgment. It brings an emotional reaction and tears to my eyes because that is what we're all craving. Is when we are making these major transitions of eating. I mean, it affects every aspect of our life, our children, our family, the way we think, the way we move, the time we spend in the kitchen versus not. I mean, like the way we eat changes everything. And that's a big change for people. And you're just like, I'm not going to judge you on it. Let's just do this. You're here. Let's talk. Like, I love it. Like, I think you should lead with it, but I mean, that's just me. So, and I always get a physical, an emotional reaction to it. So I just wanted to point that out for listeners too, to realize how important that is when you are stepping into your divine guidance, when you're making changes, when you're going plant-based, whatever it is that you're choosing to do, connecting with people who meet you where you're at and don't judge you is it's priceless. So you're such a gift.
Thank you. And thinking about kindergarten, I taught kindergarten for for almost 15 years before I got into the health and wellness space. And you get kids with all different skills. You get kids with all different abilities. And you're not going to say, oh, wow, this kid's reading at a level 32 and this kid's reading at a level 2. Well, that kid's not good because they're not at the 32. Well, nobody expects a kid to read at a 32 in kindergarten. When they do, that's above and beyond, but that's not the expectation. So I guess that, it's part of just always interacting with, I'll call them little clients, right? Always interacting with these little clients who are at different spaces, and being a student in elementary school myself was not my forte, was not something that I was good at. And my friends were brainiacs. My friends are all like, but those friends that I had that back then, they're surgeons, they're research veterinarians. They were brainiacs from the beginning. So I was always in this situation where I guess I always saw the difference between me and other people. And it was so hard for me to get like a 3 out of 10 on a spelling test. Like that was a celebration for me. So yeah, it's the same thing. We've all been exposed to different things. We all have different abilities, different capabilities, and we only know what we know. And I listen to a lot of, other podcasts, or I'll listen to some Facebook live shows, and there's almost this mockery of people where because they don't know the information, that we mock them. And in the plant-based world, it's a big joke. Where do you get your protein? And we're always laughing because every third person you talk to, or every second person you talk to about being plant-based or vegan, like they want to know, like, are you going to die of protein deficiency? And, so we do laugh and we do chuckle about that, but we're not laughing at them. It just comes up so often that it's funny. But there are scenarios where people are literally belittling and mocking the people who are, sometimes it's ignorance, sometimes it's exposure, sometimes it's just nature, nurture, all of those other things. But I never want anybody to feel like that, because unfortunately, like growing up, just not doing well in school, I know what that's like. Yeah.
Yeah. So what is it like? We talked about what it's like when you don't listen, what it's like when you do.
So I'm working on that. I'm definitely working on that. And it's funny because that situation that I talked about with that social media company happened again and again and again in various parts of my business. Every time we hired someone, it was the first person. I had this little tweet going on in the back of my head. Is it the right person? Is it the right person? And at the beginning, it really was. And then it wasn't. And so now I'm trying to get back to it is. And I think I'm definitely there. But I'll give you an example, which it might sound really silly, but if you could build on that and use that as a sign of what's to come. We ordered a table in September and we finally got it 2 weeks ago. And when it came, it was gorgeous. It's real wood. It's, it's sanded down, but it's like live wood, right? Like no two tables are the same. The edges are super cool. And there was a part on it that looked like it was going to fall off. And there was another part on it that stuck out that should have been shaven off. It was stuck out. And it looked like if I had a 3-year-old walking through my house and they banged their head on it, that they would slit their whole forehead open. Or if one of us bent down to pick up a pea that rolled off our plate, or a veggie ball that rolled off our plate, that, we would get a gash. And we waited so long for the table, and it was so heavy and it was so hard to put together. And then we had to flip it over, and it was just so gorgeous sitting there. And we were kind of like, it's all right. It's fine. We don't have 3-year-olds in the house anymore. But it didn't sit right. And I didn't want to live every day being worried, is somebody going to bend over and get hurt? Or when COVID's over and we do have friends come over again, is somebody else going to get hurt? And I think that 6 months ago, Shoshana would have just been like, it's fine. We worked so hard to get it. We love it. It's gorgeous. We'll just keep it. And I was like, no, I'm not doing that. And we called the company and we had to fight with them. And we didn't fight, but we really had to, it's heavy and it's big and it's expensive shipping. And, we were just like, we want another one. And they're like, but they're all different and you can't guarantee them. Like, there's a difference between, I don't really like the angle of it versus I actually think that somebody's going to need stitches because of it. And I changed the table and we finally got the new table. It came on Friday. And I know that's so small, but I'm so proud of myself for listening to that intuition. And because of a lot of things that have happened in the past month, from a spiritual sense, a conversation I had with you, many follow-ups I had with my dad, I was strong enough to say, sorry, not acceptable. Not to say that I was a schmutta before and that people walked, I don't, is that a known word? That people walked all over me like an old cloth. But but I would have just let it go because it was so gorgeous anyway. And I followed through and it felt so, so good. And having it now in the kitchen and having the good one in the kitchen feels, it boosts me up and it makes me have more confidence in everything else that I do because I see I've done it there. I can do it in all these other situations.
Next thing that I wanted to ask you was what all changes happened in the last month? Like what are some of the things that you've noticed? And if it's too personal, you don't have to share either.
So I have been, as we go in and out of this COVID thing, and it's different for everybody in every kind of state or region or country, right? So as we kind of got, all of our restaurants are closed down, none of our stores are open, everything's online. You're not even allowed to congregate outside anymore. So, you kind of go into, did I do enough thinking? Did I do enough soul searching in this last year? We had all these opportunities. So, I started to think I really need to do some, I need, not that I need to do spiritual work, but I started to think I need some spiritual guidance. I need some spiritual guidance. I'd love to find somebody, to have like a session with. And a session kind of fell into my lap and I took it. It was a free session and I was really left perplexed, disappointed, confused, not knowing if the information was true, if it was delivered in the right way, and what I was really uncomfortable with it. And I had to dig myself out of that. I had to say, is this true? And if it is, what steps do I need to take? Or is this not true? Or what's going on? So we had really just connected a few days after that. And then I was like, I need you to tell me, like, tell me what's going on. And the messages that I got from you were that this is something I need to listen to my intuition more, that I need to trust my spirit. I don't even know if it's spirit or what it is. Sometimes it's words, sometimes it's visions, pictures, sometimes it's a whisper in my ear, or it's just, I know it's there, but it's always so tangible at the same time. It's this weird thing. And I was just like, I hear it, I see it, I know it, but I've been putting up this wall for my dad for so many years and just going to him for the information instead of checking in with myself. And then my dad did a lot of work teaching me, like, what do I need to do to clear it? What do I need to do to keep my chakras open, to keep my aura open, to keep myself clean, to keep other people's energy with them and my energy with me. And I was really starting to take part in it. And then the very next day, the dreams started happening again. And like these very vivid dreams and visualizations in my meditations, like to the point where like I was crying and I felt other people's pain and all of these things started to happen. And I'm just like, okay, I surrender. I give up. I'm not putting up that wall anymore. I don't, where I am right now with young kids and a business and a husband and all of that, I don't have enough time that I'm willing to spend right now in this moment to exercise it and learn more or take a course or spend more than my meditation time with it. But I'm going to listen more and I'm going to pay attention more and I'm going to sit up straighter when I need to sit up straighter and just go with it. And it's just been like this series of events and, my dad checking in with me and noticing differences too. It's just been, it's felt like a year, but it's been a month. Yeah.
That's really cool. I had a thought and now it's gone. So we're going to go on to the next question. So when you're talking about having these visions and all the different ways, how do you tell the difference between the thought that you're thinking and then the thought that you're receiving or the experience that you're receiving?
The thought that I'm thinking is a thought that I'm thinking, and the experience that I have, I'm looking for proof.
I love it.
I think I'm looking for proof. I'm like, are you sure? Give it to me one more time. Make the lights flicker if that's what you really meant. But when it's just a thought, it's just a thought. Yeah.
I know what it was when you were talking about surrendering and just like, okay, I give up. Yesterday during a group call, and I channeled a message for that group. And what the message was that when you surrender, it's not letting go, it's letting us in, meaning spirit. So you're letting them in when you let go, or like when you surrender. So I was like, I feel like that's what's
Yeah,
happening now.
I'm not giving, it's not that I give up. It's that I'm willing to step into it. It's
Mm-hmm.
almost like the opposite of surrender. Like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, like I'm willing to step up. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Oh, so so you gave an example, so maybe we don't need to cover this. So where has listening to your divine guidance led you, or where do you want it to lead you?
What I'm really looking for right now at this level, and I know that it will change. I know if you ask me next week or next month or next year, it will change. But for right now, I would like to cut down my time about how I'm making decisions and how long I'm taking to make those decisions. I really just want to like trust and go and trust and go. And
Mm-hmm.
that's what I'm looking for right now. And whatever else it brings, it brings. But I know that the less time and mental energy I spend trying to think through things I already know the answer to will open up so much more time and brain power to work on other things. And that will make me more present for my family. It will make me have more time to cook beautiful meals. It'll mean that I can touch more clients or train more people to help more people moving forward. So I know it's going to bring great things and I know that will change. But for right now, I just need to trust that intuition and move forward.
Yeah. Spirit has shared with me over and over 2021, as everybody is elevating, the whole planet is elevating. The best thing to do is to listen to your own divine guidance, because it is the most effective and efficient way to make decisions. And so I love that that's your intention of it. And it's perfect. And allow, ask, receive, trust, act. Spirit has shared with me those steps over and over. And that's how you listen to your divine guidance. And that's just what you're doing. It is, and the universe also loves God, source, creator, spirit, whatever you want to call it, loves physics, loves momentum. And so a constant in motion stays in motion. So the quicker that you are making those decisions and following that intuition, so you allow, you asked, you receive the information, you trust the information, and you act immediately on it, the more success you will have. I have noticed that the clients that are making more money, getting more clients, having a better relationship, connecting more, having deeper, meaningful conversations, they are acting immediately on the guidance that they're receiving. Whether they call it divine guidance or not is up to them. They may just say, I'm having an elevated thought, or I'm thinking differently, or I received differently, or I had this idea and then they went with it. So that's what I have noticed. So I love that you are like, that's your intention, and it's going to be so rewarding.
It's aligned. Good.
Yes, it's perfect. Any final advice that you would like to share with those listening, on those who are wanting to have more floating on a cloud moments?
For floating on a cloud moments. And I think I've mentioned to you before, and I just want to say before I give some final advice, and being mindful of time also, but the way my husband sees, and it's his story though, but this whole idea of floating on a cloud, the way my husband sees his messages is actually cloud being written to him. And I think of that, like every time I hear that, I just think of that, because that's when we were told that, it's possible I'd be raising the kids on my own. He had this tumor. I was pregnant with my daughter. I already had my son. And I was upstairs throwing a fit like a 2-year-old in a candy store, on my bed at home with my parents when we had gone to visit them. My Adam's in the basement with my dad, just getting all these messages that are being written to him with cloud. So it's very emotional for me, and it fits very nicely. So I just wanted to put that in. But advice for people who are just ready. I mean, listen, take time. And if you're not already meditating, I think meditation is a great place to start. And what I mean by meditation is sit or walk or run, but have nothing else going on. And maybe there's music, maybe there's humming, maybe there's chanting, but ask yourself a question in that time. So no, this is my meditation time, and ask yourself a question. And am I ready to move forward? Am I ready to listen? What do I need to listen to? What is my animal, who's my animal spirit, my animal guide, or what ancestor do I need to pull on to find guidance? And a name will come to you, or a thought will come to you, and you might go to your parents and say, something about an old person with bagels came to me. Was there anybody in our family who ever worked with bagels? And then they'll be like, oh yeah, your great grandmother Sarah. And you'll get some information on that. And when you get that information, there'll be some kind of character trait. So just when you need something, ask for it and it will come. And that's something that I've always been able to do, but especially in the last couple of weeks, I've been doing more and more and more, asking questions, and those answers are definitely coming. So if you want it, it's there. I think it's there for everybody. Yeah.
How do we connect with you?
How do you connect with me? Well, if you want to learn more about the podcast or the plant-based living or recipes or anything like that, or triathlon training, you can go to planttrainers.com and everything's kind of hubbed there. And then if anybody wants to reach out personally, they could always email me through there, but finding me on Facebook, Shoshana Chaim, and, send me a friend request. But when you send me a friend request, tell me why, because I don't accept all friend requests. I like to know that they're real people, and I'd be happy to, touch base and talk and help you in any way that you need help along your journey.
That is so beautiful. I love connecting with you, and I love our conversations. Thank you so much for your time and energy and knowledge that you shared with us today.
Thank you so much for having me. And this has been a really good conversation that I think I needed also in this time and all these changes that I've made in the last month. So thank you so much.
You're welcome.